guys, and welcome back to part 2 of my Q&A. Without further ado, I will just dive straight in and carry on with all your questions. It's Kelsey's life. Hi Kelsey. My question is, since giving birth to Wilf, how has the healing process been for you? Anything you've done to make things easier, less painful or irritating? I've actually found the healing process nowhere near as bad as I was expecting. I thought it was going to be absolutely horrendous, and while there were moments of absolutely horrendous, it definitely wasn't as bad as I was thinking. I had an episiotomy, so they had to cut me to get Wilf out, and I had a forceps delivery, which I know can make recovery a little bit more tough. But generally I found it okay, to be honest. Keeping topped up on like paracetamol as you need to in those first like week or so was really helpful. I also had, and I wish I had it here to show you, but I do not, I got the, I think it's called the Expert Midwife Spritz for Bits, and it's like a spray and you just spray it onto like a pad, and it's like really soothing down there and meant to like aid recovery and stuff. I really liked that. And I also found having milk and lavender baths really helpful. So I'd take a cup of milk, just like regular milk, a cup of milk, and I put in like 5 or 6 drops of pure lavender oil and put that in a hot running bath, and I found that was really, really soothing. And then yeah, just like really big pants. But yeah, on the whole, not as bad as I was expecting at all. Demi Williams 14 says, how long did it take you to get pregnant? How long were you trying? And we were trying for over 2 years to get pregnant with Wilf. We got pregnant naturally in that time and sadly miscarried 3 times. And then we used Clomid to get pregnant with Wilf. Lindsay 75. I might have missed this in a previous video, but I've been wondering if you were working before you had Wilf. I know you would be on maternity leave now, but if you were working, at what stage in your pregnancy did you stop? So I mentioned this in my last Q&A in more detail, so I will link that below if you haven't seen it. But to cut a long story short, I stopped working at my job in December 2016, so December last year, after finding out about my mum's cancer. That was a really, really tough year for me. I had 3 miscarriages and then found out my mum had cancer, and basically I just completely lost the plot. I didn't lose the plot, but I was having panic attacks. I was very upset, as you would be, and work was just an extra pressure that I was really struggling with, and I was very lucky that Andrew could see how badly it was affecting me and told me that I could just not work anymore, and that we would manage on his wage. So that is what we have done since last December, and in February I found out I was pregnant with Wilf. So yeah, haven't been working during my pregnancy, which is a huge blessing, because when I was on Clomid I was in all the time for scans and things, and then I was in and out of hospital a lot in the first trimester, but basically throughout my whole pregnancy, and it would have been really difficult if I was working, so I was very lucky that I wasn't working during my pregnancy with Wilf. Kate Bassett 24 says, I've had 2 IUIs and no luck, 1 miscarriage. Any tips you use that was not from a medical perspective? It's hard because obviously I got pregnant with Clomid, and I was able to stay pregnant because I was having HCG boosters in the first trimester, so medical intervention featured highly in my pregnancy. But one thing I did try that I don't know if I would 100% recommend, because it is an expense and I've no guarantee that it works, but I did used to have like fertility pre-pregnancy reflexology, and I loved it. It was an expense and it's not something I personally could afford to do when I wasn't working, but when I used to work I used to get that once a week and I absolutely loved it. I can't guarantee it helped, but the first time I did have pre-pregnancy reflexology, I hadn't ovulated for ages, and I had a reflexology and I literally ovulated like that night or the next day. Could have been a coincidence, I don't know. But whether it worked or not for making me ovulate, it massively chilled me out. I really, really enjoyed it, and I didn't expect it because I don't like having my feet touched. So if that's something that puts you off, I would say give it a go, because I was surprised how much I absolutely loved it, and it really did relax me. So yeah, it's a tough question because medicine featured heavily in my pregnancy, in terms of getting pregnant and staying pregnant. But if you want to give something a try and you haven't tried it and you can afford to try it, I would say pre-pregnancy or fertility reflexology is something I would definitely recommend looking into. I personally loved it. Many Lime? I'm so sorry if I'm not saying that right. What was the response to Wilf's name? Was it as expected? Generally the response to Wilf's name's been really good. I've had a few people that don't like it, which is to be expected. You're going to get that with absolutely any name. There's not going to be a name that absolutely everyone likes, but everyone in my kind of like close personal life, like family and like my close friends, all love Wilf's name. And I've only had like a few comments on YouTube from people that don't like it, which, with all due respect, I don't really care if people don't like it. I love his name. I think it really suits him. I like how traditional it is, but also it's one of the more unusual traditional names. Like, you don't get tons of Wilfs. I love his name, and yeah, the reaction has been, on the whole, really positive. Natasha Pert, again sorry if I'm saying that wrong, what reason did your doctor give for letting you take Clomid on cycle day 2? I don't know. I think that's just how my doctor does it. I don't know if that's just the standard in the UK maybe, I don't know. My friend's on Clomid at the moment and she takes it on cycle day 2, and she's based elsewhere in the UK. I'm not sure. If any of you guys know why some doctors say different days to take Clomid, please write in the comments, because I actually have no idea. I just took it on cycle day 2 because that's the day I was told to take it. Laura Cummins. Hi Becca, love your videos. Oh, thank you, Laura. I've been TTC for nearly 2 years and have now started on the road to medical investigations. What advice would you give to someone who is starting to lose hope that it will ever happen? Did you ever feel like just giving up? All the time. All the time. I don't even know what advice to give you. If you feel like you are struggling and you feel down about it, yes, obviously it's really important to stay positive, but I'm very much a believer. I'm a bit of a glass half empty person, which I know isn't for everyone, but I kind of think if you feel a bit shit about something and you want to wallow in it a bit, it's fine. Like, sometimes I think it's good to just feel a bit sorry for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, there was so many times I felt like giving up. I cannot tell you how many times. It's completely normal to feel that way. But you just have to keep going. You don't have any choice. Just stay focused on that end goal, and I can't tell you how worthwhile it feels in the end when you finally get there. It is so worth it, and there are going to be so many times you feel like giving up, but just keep going, and I have every hope it will happen for you. Dice Scarlet, top 3 favourite lip colours, you're always lip goals. Oh, thank you so much. I do love a good lip product. So I did get these ready because I remembered that this question had been asked. These are my top 3 current lip favourites. They change all the time because I am a big lip product fan. But yeah, these are my top 3 favourites currently. The one that I wear all the time, if you ever see me wearing a nude, it is nearly always going to be this, which is the Sephora lip cream in, what colour are you? Number 40. I'm not sure what it's called. I'll swatch it on my hand. And it is this beautiful, like, slightly pinky brownie nude. It's really comfortable, matte on the lips, not particularly drying, and it's just that perfect kind of, like, I hate to say it, but like Kylie Jenner, like, pinky nude. I'm running extremely low on this and it's panicking me. Lauren got me this from New York when she went, and I don't know what I'm going to do when it runs out. I am slightly panicking, but yeah. My favourite red is this one, which looks horrible now because it's in white packaging, which looked beautiful at first but now does not, and it is a MAC limited edition one in Victoriana. Again, this is a matte, but I normally find red mattes so drying, but this is the most comfortable ever. Look how much I've got left. I nearly ran out. It is what I've got on my lips today, and it is just the most beautiful, like bright, true, it's just a true red, but it's just amazing, and the texture of that is like my favourite red lipstick ever. And my third favourite is more of a seasonal one, and it is this Too Faced Melted Matte Lipstick in, what colour? Suck It. That sounds a bit rude. And it looks quite almost nude in the pot, but on the lips it is very much like a dark browny berry purple. I don't know if you can see that, it's this one here. Yeah, it is a little bit drying, I will say. Compared to the other two mattes, this is quite drying, but it doesn't budge, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful colour for like autumn, winter. So yeah, they would be my top 3 lipsticks at the moment. But my favourite lipstick of all time, I should have brought it to show you, is MAC Fanfare. I haven't worn it for about 2 years, but it's like just a classic. It's like a slightly corally pink. I wore it on my wedding day. It's just the most comfortable, pretty, summery pink. So yeah, I might bust that out again next summer. I forgot about it a bit this year, but I'd probably say that was my all-time favourite lipstick. Joan Rutledge, sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Would you do a Jules pram review? I'd love to watch that. Yes, I will absolutely do that. I will wait until we have graduated from the carry cot to the actual, what do you call it? The other C anyway. And then when we've tested both out, I will do a review of that. I love it so far. Spoiler alert, big fan. Trying to become mum. Firstly, love your videos, thank you so much. One negative and one positive about going through infertility. P.S. You have the most awesome pouty lips. Thank you so much. So one negative about going through infertility, I would say, is the bitterness. I hate that. I hate how bitter it made me. I genuinely think I was such a, it sounds awful to say, but I think I was such a nicer person before I went through infertility. It made me really bitter, and I hate that. And I know it doesn't have that effect on everyone, because I see some people handle it so beautifully, and I'm sure they do have bitter feelings to themselves, but I was just so bitter. I'd see a pregnancy announcement on Facebook and I would feel so like it was a personal attack on me, which is ridiculous. Please tell me if you guys feel like that too. But it just made me so bitter. It was horrible. So I would absolutely say that is the biggest negative, apart from the obvious, like being desperate for a baby and not being able to have one. That was my biggest negative. My biggest positive about going through infertility is how patient I feel like I am now whilst here because of it. I always hoped that would be the case, and obviously I'm still only a month in, but I just feel like things I hear people moaning about on like Facebook and stuff, I see people moaning about some things and I'm just like, you are so lucky to be in that position. And like, I still feel very much that way now. There's some things that I just feel like I have a lot more patience for, because I've been through the struggle of trying to get to that point. And I'm just so grateful to be in the position I am now that I don't care if I'm tired, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So I would say that is the biggest positive. Elizabeth Makes Art says, if I flew to England, would you have tea with me? Of course I would. Get on the plane. Of course I would. Melanie T101 says, how did you stay positive when you were TTC? What advice do you have? You are so amazing with all you do. Well, thank you so much. That is so nice. Oh, I'm just going to be honest and answer this and say I wasn't positive at all. I was an absolute nightmare. I'm a really, like, as I've said, I'm a really glass half empty kind of person, and it's not a great way to be, but that's just how I am. I am very much a person that would rather prepare for the worst, and then if the worst happens, it's not so much of a shock. That sounds awful, but that's just how I am. So, to be honest, I didn't stay positive most of the time. I was very much feeling sorry for myself, and yeah, I don't really have any advice. I have advice I could give you that I know is what I should have done, but it's not what I did. I was quite negative about the whole thing, so that's just how I dealt with things, and I think that's fine. I think people are so sure that they need to stay positive all the time and they need to, but I don't think you do. Like, I think if you're feeling rubbish about things and you want to have a bit of a wallow in it, then just wallow in it. I think that's totally fine. So yeah, I stayed positive in the sense that I kept going. I always kept going. There were times I thought, I can't do this anymore, but you just have to keep going. So in that sense, that would be my advice, is to just carry on. But if you want to get into bed and eat a huge bar of chocolate and cry into your pillow whilst watching a soppy film, then do that. Just do whatever you need to do to get through it, is what I would say. It's Jules Furnace. Hi, Jules. Again, I will link Jules' channel below. I'm sure you all know it already. What job have you enjoyed most in your life? So I would be between two. So before I was not working, I worked for the NSPCC, which is obviously a children's charity, and I loved the job. I enjoyed what I did. I felt like I was doing something worthwhile, and I felt like I was helping people, and I enjoyed that job the most in that sense. But I have to say, the job I enjoyed the most was probably when I worked for Office Shoes. I met Lauren, Mother Trooper, there. She's like my best friend, and we met at Office. We met our other friend Katie there, and I worked with loads of other girls who were just so lovely, and we just had fun. Like, going to work was like a social outing. Like, I just really enjoyed it. Like, we just had fun. Like, it was such a nice group of girls, and we'd go to work and just gossip, probably more than we should have done, and we just had fun. So I'd say working for the NSPCC on a serious level was like my favourite job, but the most fun was definitely when I worked at Office Shoes and met Lauren and Katie. And Jules has also said, what has surprised you most about motherhood? Do you know what surprised me that I was not expecting? And it really annoyed me before I had my own baby, and I'd like have friends with children, and like I'd know other people with children, and they'd always be running late, and it'd always take them ages to get somewhere, and I was like, I don't understand how it takes so long. It's just a baby. It has surprised me. It takes so long to get out the house. It is such a challenge to get out the house. Like, you're about to leave and you think you've got everything ready, and then they poo, or you've got to change a nappy again, or they wee all over the clothes and you've got to find a new outfit. And yeah, that has surprised me most about motherhood, is just how one little person can cause so much destruction and make it so hard to get anywhere and do anything. It's remarkable. So that would be what has surprised me most about motherhood. Hannah Luana. Hello, Hannah. Love your channel. Your videos have given me hope when we started our own TTC Clomid journey, and now 30 weeks pregnant. Can't believe it. That is so exciting. And I think you're having a boy as well, aren't you, Hannah? I hope I've not made that up. I'm sure you're having a boy. What was the question? I would like to ask newborn related questions. What sort of routine is Wilf in, or are you aiming for? So Wilf basically isn't in much of a routine at all at the moment. We loosely feed him every 3 hours, but if he's hungry before, we will feed him before. What routine would I like him to be in? I do want to start getting him into a proper routine. Please leave in the comments. I don't know much about this myself. It's still very early days. At what point would you say it's good to start getting into like a bath and bed routine? Like, I really want to get into the habit of like giving him a bath, winding him down, getting him settled, because I want to start, like, you know, eventually obviously I would like him to sleep through the night. So yeah, I don't know how you do that. So at the moment, I'm sorry, it's not a very good answer, but I just don't really have a routine, but I would like one. Advice welcome. Does he sleep well at night? Yes, he does on the whole. I'm really, really lucky. He's a good sleeper. He was very lazy in the womb, and he's quite a lazy baby out of the womb as well. So yeah, he does sleep pretty well. We wake him for his feeds, but then he has his feed and he pretty much goes straight back down, so I can't complain. He is a good little sleeper. And also, do you swaddle him? We don't swaddle him. We have the Grow bags, the Grow Swaddle ones for newborn babies, which I love, by the way. I would totally recommend. But you can either zip the arms in so they're swaddled, or you can have their arms out. And Wilf doesn't like having his arms in at all. He sleeps with his arms above his head like this, so he doesn't like being all like strapped down. He's not a fan of being swaddled. We did try it, but it's not for him, I don't think, so that's totally fine. Right, sorry if I have moved, guys. My battery died, so I've had to go and charge it, and I've come back and it's really dark and God knows what's going on here, but I just wanted to get this video finished because I've been filming it for what feels like 3 years. So, Gem with Love says, what was your favourite part of pregnancy? And my favourite part of pregnancy was definitely watching my body change. I know some women find that really, really tough, and I do understand that, but personally I absolutely loved it. I loved looking pregnant, I loved having a bump. I've never felt as body confident as I did when I was pregnant and when I had my bump. I just felt like so special. I just absolutely loved it. I loved it if people would comment on like my bump when I was like out and about. I just loved it. I just loved like looking and feeling pregnant. So yeah, that was definitely my favourite part of pregnancy. I found the whole, as we all know, as I've mentioned 1,000 times, I found the whole like emotional anxiety side of pregnancy really tough. But if I can take that away, I absolutely loved being pregnant. I just felt like $1 million. I felt so special. So that would definitely be my favourite part of pregnancy. And my last question, if I just can find it, was actually one that was messaged to me in a private message, so I'm going to keep this one anonymous. And it is, I was just wondering how you dealt with close family and friends coming out and saying they're pregnant when you were trying to conceive. Oh, that is so tough. And the short answer is, I just didn't handle it very well. That's probably not what I meant to say, but being honest, I found it really, really hard. I'm sure lots of us find it super, super hard. I was always, it's hard because it's so conflicting, because you are genuinely happy for people. Being pregnant and being able to have a baby is an absolute gift, and why would you not be happy for someone for that? So it's really conflicting, feeling that happiness, but then also feeling just it is the most intense feeling of jealousy imaginable. You just feel so jealous. It's horrible, horrible feeling. How did I deal with it? Personally, what I did was, because I was quite open, not right at the start, but after a while I was very open with friends and family about what we had gone through, about our infertility, about our miscarriages. It's something I have been quite open with for a long time. Obviously I've discussed it with you guys, and it is something I've been quite open about. So what I felt like I could do was to say to people, if you get pregnant, please tell me by text message or WhatsApp rather than face to face. I think a lot of people, when they know you've been through infertility and miscarriage, feel like they need to tell you face to face, and that is completely understandable. I totally get why people think that, but for me personally, and I am just speaking for me here, some people might way prefer being told face to face. I preferred to know by text message or by WhatsApp, so I could reply, you know, with a nice gushy, I'm so happy for you, blah 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 message, and then if I needed to have a little cry and feel sorry for myself, which is completely understandable, I could do that. in my own home, in my own space, and not worry about ruining it for someone else. That's all I could do really. And if you're not in a position where that's something you can do, it is really, really hard, and all you can do is just handle it however you feel best and get through it however you can. If you are upset, that's completely understandable, and I can't pretend to you and say there weren't times when people told me they were pregnant and the upset took over for me, and I am not annoyed at myself because it's completely understandable, but I'd hate the thought of having taken that joy away from someone. But sometimes it is just such a strong reaction that if you haven't had time to prepare yourself for it, it can all just become very overwhelming. So yeah, I don't really have any, you know, huge words of wisdom, because I found it really tough, and I think anyone in that position would find that really tough. You've just got to do whatever you have to do to get through it, basically. And yeah, that's it. That's a really, really tough one. So that's it. That's all the questions, and I will leave it there. Big thank you again for everyone who has helped me get to 2,000 subscribers and who has shown me so much love and support over the past 10 months. YouTube has just been a complete joy for me over the past 10 months. I've loved watching it for years and years and years, and to be finally doing it and finally having like a hobby is just amazing, because I've never had a hobby before. So yeah, biggest thank you to you all. I hope you're all doing really, really well. Let me know in the comments how everyone is, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.